Welcome, everybody. Welcome. And how is everybody doing? Sorry, I had to get a little adjusted here. So, how's everybody doing? I wanted to first and foremost welcome you all to another episode of Envision Me podcast. You know what we do every Wednesday? We come in here, we do talk about some empowerment, we bring on amazing guests, as I have two guests, which I'm super excited about. But first and foremost, let me ask you, how are you doing? See, I always do. I start out that show because sometimes people don't ask. They just go right in for it. But I'm always starting out and want to know how you guys doing. Drop it in the feed and let me know how you're doing. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Pam. I am the CEO of Vision Made Media, and I want to welcome you again to Envision Me podcast. The podcast where we come on here every Wednesday, and we're out here empowering, inspiring you to go after your what's next. Now, I'm always getting asked, well, what's next? Well, your what's next may be that you're going to go climb up the corporate ladder. Or your what's next may be you want to be an entrepreneur. Or better yet, something I'm really dreaming about is traveling around the world. But whatever your what's next is, I want to empower you, inspire you, and knowing that you can go after it. Why do you care? Well, see, one time I was sitting in the corporate world, and I'm still in the corporate world, but I was sitting at the corporate desk and I started to look around. I'm like, wow, I'm making someone else's dreams possible. And mine, they don't even know what my dreams are. And as well as I'm sitting in a cubicle doing the same thing day in and day out. I had a breakdown at my job, literally breakdown. And then I finally brought myself together. And so I started asking my teammates, what is their what's next? And a lot of them didn't know, which was a little scary. So then I said, okay, what if I removed all obstacles, right? Every obstacle, I have thousands of women behind me that are beside me, not behind me, beside me, that can help you get you to your what's next. And it doesn't have to be me. Would you be willing to do it? They couldn't even answer that. Actually, one person did. So then and there, I knew that that was my job. My job and my purpose and my passion was to come out here and empower women to go after their what's next. I have the resources. I have the tribe. So there's no reason why you can't go after your what's next. So grab your pen and paper. Oh, you guys, guess what? I do have my juice this week. You know how for the last couple times, if you haven't caught it, last couple times I haven't had my snack, I haven't had my drink, or I've had one or the other. So today I do have my evening beverage. The snacks I'm trying to get away with. Those of you who don't know, I'm working on my weight loss journey, so you'll see less and less of the snacks. So, but grab your pen and paper, grab your girlfriend and girlfriends, because we're going to have a powerful show. And so come on in and let's sit down. So my first guest tonight is with Allison. Allison is an amazing woman, you guys. So if you have any questions for her as we go through the show, please drop them in the feed. I will definitely get them to her. But actually, Allison is a certified sexologist. She is a relationship coach. She is a dating expert and a co-author of Radical Self-Love. Without further ado, let me bring Allison to the stage. Hey, Miss Allison, how are you?
I'm great. So great to be here. I just resonated so much with what you said as a woman. Oh, I wish I had known you years ago.
You know what? It was all meant for us to cross our paths now. It's been
Yeah.
an amazing journey since we've been on here. But as I just said a little bit about you, but there's so much more. Tell our audience a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Well, as you said, I am a sexologist, dating and relationship coach, and I do help heart centered professionals really overcome the obstacles to having incredible relationships. So I really help singles do a really deep dive into who they are, what they need based on who they are in terms of relationship, what could be holding them back, and how to get that relationship. And then I help couples And specifically, I can work with all couples, but I also specialize with couples who've experienced trauma in their life. So, trauma could be disability, which I know well, or illness, and how to navigate that new reality and still have a really fulfilling relationship. So, that's what I do in terms of my career. But in terms of my life, it's been an interesting journey to get to this place. I'm actually, it hasn't been an easy path, but I'm actually very grateful to have gone through the hurdles that I've been through, because I wouldn't be sitting where I am today, actually in a much happier place. It's years ago, I guess in 2014, I had a bad skiing accident. I was married, been married for 20 years, two daughters who are now, one's at university third year and the other one's about to go away. But at the time, they were a lot younger. And so I had what I thought was the perfect nuclear family, and I thought I was extremely happy. And I had a skiing accident that turned my life upside down overnight. And I ended up, as a result of this accident, with this incurable condition that is quite rare. And I ended up in a wheelchair and really not able to move very well. And the stats were not very good. It's about 1% of people aren't able to fight beyond that, because the pain and everything is so bad and debilitating. And with no cure, it's quite difficult. Anyway, to make a long story short, it led to the end of my 20-year marriage. I ended up with this condition. I had a decision to make in my life at that point. I can give in because I had a lot of reasons to
Mhm.
be honest, because when you're in that situation, really, and I want to be careful about this, because I certainly understand why people would go to drugs and medication in that situation because of the pain. But I had a decision to go down that route or to really fight. And I took a step back and realized, I thought about, where do I want my life to be? And I realized that I just made a mental decision that that's not going to be my life. It is not going to be my life. I don't care what the stats are. I don't care. One way or the other, I'm getting myself out of this and I'm going to be happy. And so I just fought little bits at a time, one day after another. And it was a long fight. And
Mhm.
I still fight it. Like, I got myself out of that wheelchair into walking with the cane, and I still suffer because I still have the condition, and I've come out of remission. But what I have learned through that entire journey is unbelievable. Like, a I mean, I was married to, I think, like almost like my best friend, but it wasn't the right relationship for me. And I would have stayed in that relationship because I was so loyal, probably forever, not realizing I wasn't very happy. I also wasn't in the right career at the time. And
Mhm.
so why I resonated with you so much, Pam, is because when this happened to me, I think you've heard this, I'm sure, a lot from a lot of women, that when something happens in your life, or maybe just something, a light goes off
Mhm.
and you realize, wait a second, like, something's missing. All of
Mhm.
a sudden I realized, this isn't the path I want to be on. I need to do more with my life. And I had I studied psychology in school, but somehow I end up in business.
Yeah.
So I decided to go back to school. I decided to become a relationship coach. I've been studying ever since. Um, but it's just, uh, after I got coaching, I got therapy, I did it all. I went back into the dating world. So that's a long story, but that's
But,
kind of where I am today.
I'm glad you talked about it. And, actually, we're going to take a little spin on it, or what we were going to talk about, because we need to understand you made that change. I know, first of all, I have to give you so much your flowers. I mean, you are an amazing woman, and you've shown what resilience really is. Look what where you've come from. And we've actually talked in depth more of your story and things like that, but I'm glad you talked about change and knowing that when change hurts, let's be honest, change hurts. But knowing, okay, I have to stop. And basically, you're basically to jump off of the train and let's jump on the other tracks of let's go after happiness. So when you did that, man, how did you make you feel though when you were starting to go through the process of jumping off on the one train versus going on to the other tracks?
I mean, I have to say, I mean, it was hard at the time, but also exhilarating to have something new in my life. I'd never experienced that before. I also had never really dealt with my pain before. It's the first
Mhm.
time I'd made conscious decisions, to be honest. I think that I'd masked a lot in my life. And I knew that in order to deal with all of this pain that was going on within me physically and emotionally, that I had to deal with it. I couldn't mask it. So
Mhm.
that's what I did. Like every day I sat down and dealt with the pain and lived through it rather than masking it. And every day that I got stronger and felt happier was just it. I just felt lighter. It just felt amazing. My daughters even commented and they said, "Mom, it just feels peaceful. You look lighter. You look happier." Like it just they made those comments, and I realized as I was cooking one day, I was like, "Wow, I feel at peace. Even though my body is not always at peace right now, I feel at peace." And so it was a completely new experience for me that I never would have experienced before. And I never would have thought that I could have gone through that. But when you go through stuff like this, and anybody, I'm not trying to say I'm this amazing person, anybody is capable of this. But once you go through something, you realize what you're capable of and that you're capable of so much more.
True.
And so it's pretty amazing.
Well, I'm hats off to you as you did that change. And that's what we talk about here is about change, but knowing that women are living and look at you, oh my goodness, you're doing so much. But let's talk about the relationship, being a relationship coach, which I think is so important because so many people are tied up into the expected no or expectation of a relationship. And people are like, well, they're expecting you to do this, but this is what you want to do that. So with that being said, one thing I really loved when you talked about, you show the people how to identify the components on finding and keeping the relationship. So what is that? What does that look like? Especially for people like me, what does that look like?
Well, see, the problem is that most people, I think a lot of people can probably understand this if they've been married before, is that, or in any kind of serious relationship before, is that the often the first serious relationship you have, or maybe even future relationships, most of them are just naturally built on chemistry, which is not a bad thing. Hey, I am a big believer in chemistry, but that's just the natural thing to occur is that when you go out there and you meet someone and you're attracted, it's as powerful as cocaine. So your brain almost goes like mush. And you like this person so much that you're just not thinking straight, and you're not listening to that inner voice and the red flags that come up, so you're not really making wise decisions. So when things do come up, you don't want to believe it, so you tend to
Mhm.
shut it down, like, go, I don't really like this thing about him. Okay, I can deal with that. Go away, right? And then something else pops up and you go, I can change that about him. I'm sure it's going to be fine, right? So you start to ignore that, all that valuable information that is coming through. And then all of a sudden, 5, 10 years later, you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I'm so unhappy. Not always. Okay, sometimes that doesn't always happen, but in a lot of the time it does. Versus, so I'm not a big believer in just go with your heart. When people say just go with your heart, hey, I'm a big believer in love, but I think you need your head in the game too. But naturally, your head in the game. So if you do the work ahead of time to really figure out who you are first, which a lot of people go, I know myself. And I can bet that 99% of the time they really don't. When you really uncover who you are at the core, and then based on that, who your aligned partner is, and it's not just like you're just throwing out, well, I want him to be intelligent, I'd like him, to be funny, I'd like just things that you just kind of throw out that you think are
Mhm.
good. But there's so many other traits out there. Like, what do I need in the relationship in order for it to thrive? When you really, because what you need versus what I need is totally different. So when you figure that out and you have it top of mind, it just becomes, it's going to be there in the back of your head. So all of a sudden, when you go out there and you're dating, you're going to be like, wait a second. Okay. You start to gather information and you process it. You go, okay, I'm not sure about that. I know that maybe potentially that's not good for me, but I'll give it some more time. And you start to like, funnel information through, and that you would not have done before. It
Yeah.
also, for those people who believe in manifestation, when you're very clear on who you want, right, and what you need in a partner, you'd be really surprised at the different people that start
Mhm.
coming your way. I've seen it over and over again with my clients who are like, why do I keep attracting the same kind of man? Like, I can't attract anybody decent. They start to do this work, and all of a sudden, a new level of person starts coming their way. So that's what happens when you really do that work.
I love it. But you know what? I love that you talked about that because ironically, I was looking at the Tamara Hall show. I'm sorry. And it really intrigued me because there was this woman on there who she had talked about manifesting her partner. And actually he too agreed that he manifested her. But he said, but they were so intentional on what they wanted that person to look like. They wanted to know, and they were so intentional on what that partner had to bring to their table to make it the relationship work. So they met each other. They're now married. They've married almost a year. And they're still working on the manifesting their relationship so it can be what they want it to be. But I'm so agree with you on work on what you want. And you're right. Let's be honest. When we were growing up, everybody was all about let's go after love. Let's go after love. And then when this we started pivoting, there were those that were like, well, I need more than just love. I need, the stability. I need the income. I need for them to have this, bring this to the table. Then that's when people are like, oh my goodness, you can't do that. But you're right. You need to really think with your head. Your heart's there. Your heart will always be there. I agree. But you need to think with your head. Are they bringing what they can bring to this relationship that you can stay here, that we're here. If we're going to do this for the long haul, then we need to really be in here for the long haul and knowing what they got to bring to the table. And I agree with you. So kudos on that. But yeah, I can totally relate because it was just on, actually the show was just on today. And the young lady that was on Tamara Hall's guest, she actually was home. She had lost everything and she had to move back into with her mom. And she was just like, she was at her wits and she didn't know what's next was until she moved in with her mom. And she's like, she did find out how to manifest and what manifestation, how it really worked. And that she had to do work on her. And this is where we're going to get ready to talk about. Did the work on her in order for her to get to her what's next. So we have so many people that are like, okay, I want this, but they don't work on themselves. So as I talk about the working on, and you even talked about, let's work on ourselves first before you bring in the next person. What would you tell the person that's sitting at their desk right now and like, okay, you guys sound good, but how do I even start that? And it is a big mountain to climb, but there is a smaller way to tackle it. So what would you tell them?
Well, so there could be a lot of things to work on, but in I mean, really taking a step back, and I mean, I have a lot of assessments that could show you exactly what could be holding you back, but I mean, really take a look in the mirror and think to yourself, like, what could be holding me back? Like, really trust first if you don't have help, because sometimes it's really difficult to see things within ourselves. I can tell you, even for me, sometimes, like, I always still get help because I think all of us can't see within ourselves. So I think, but really take a step back, look in the mirror and go, what could I be working on? I mean, I think we all need to take a look at our past relationships. There's always two sides to them, always. Like, take a look at that specifically if you're talking relationships. What part did I play in this relationship? You know,
Mhm.
what were my strengths? What were my weaknesses? How can I improve in the future? What Take a look at, in terms of, if you're looking for a relationship, take a look at, okay, what messages am I relaying out there? Are The one thing that I hear often from every client who usually comes on the first call with me is dating sucks, dating apps suck, which I'm not saying some of that isn't
Right.
true. Like, it's not hard. I understand that, but you got to really be careful of the energy that you're releasing. So if it's dating sucks, dating app sucks, men sucks, there's no good quality men left out there. I just, I'm never going to find the one. Like, there's so many things. I'm too old.
Mm.
I'm too fat. I'm too, like, all of these things. So take a look at what messages you're saying in your head, to even just to yourself within your head, because you may think that that energy is not being released,
And it
but it
is.
is. It's almost like a big barrier that's literally rebounding love from coming to you. I've seen it over and over again. And so when you start to tear that down and be more open to love and receiving, and not that you're still not going to have your moments, we're all human, right? And it can be
Mhm.
difficult, but really try to break down those beliefs and ask yourself what's really true to this world. And just like, yes, okay, there's difficult men out there, but there's also difficult women, right? There
Yes.
are both. There are both.
Yeah. Yeah.
So take a look at what your beliefs are. Take a look at what your energy is, right? That is being released. Take a look at, um, are you being positive just in the way that you look when you're walking out the door? Because a lot of people think they have a smile on their face, but in fact, they're just staring down at the ground. They're not looking very happy, right? So
Mm.
what can you do to really work on yourself to be happier within yourself, not for someone else, but for you? Because are you happy? Are you happy with you? Are you trying to get into a relationship to fill a void? That's a big question,
It
because
is.
it will not work. You have to, not that everybody has to be perfect when they get in a relationship. There's always going to be something, but really think about what is going on with your life right now that you could work on to be the best person you can be for when you're in that relationship, because it really is like attracts like, right? If you want to
Mhm.
attract that great relationship, be that great person yourself, right?
Right.
So do the best you can to work on yourself and be happy with who you are. Enjoy your life. Like, enjoy your life, and you might just find that person comes your way. Just be the happiest you can be is really the message.
Or better yet, Allison, they could just work with you. I mean, let's just
That
let's
too.
just say they
That
can
too.
actually connect with you and work with you on your coaching, which is Path to Love, and they can help and you can help them through that. But Allison, if they want to work with you, how can they connect with you and things like that?
Well, they can, and I'd love to offer everybody a full session for free, and we can walk through their whole situation, and I can tell them what could be holding them back from having that relationship, whether they are in one or they're not in one. But they can connect with me at Path, so PATH, number two love.com. And it's /consultation if they'd like to book a consultation with me. And I do walk through all those things. So I do help them discover all these things, including, their exact match, all the obstacles. We work through the obstacles, all of that stuff. So that's the best way to connect with me, is that way. I believe I might have given you my link tree
Yep.
connection. That has absolutely everything on there, because I also will be having a membership community soon. But that's probably the best way, is either that link tree thing, or just go through my website and they can book a discovery call with me.
Cool. Well, as we get ready to, get to move to the next section, but there is one question I have to ask you. As a relationship coach, what is the right way to find lasting love while having fun? Girl, that intrigued me so much. Highlighted it and circled it. And so I'm like, I have to ask her.
Well, I help people find lasting love with or without dating apps, or a combination of the two. So I don't think you need to be on the dating apps, but if you are on the dating apps, definitely, in order to have fun, take a break every once in a while, because it can be difficult. So take a step back every once in a while. But in order to have fun, you really need to think outside the box in terms of things that you do in order to find that person. So I
Mm.
usually come up with a list of like 30 different places that they could potentially meet somebody that's outside of the dating apps. And it's something that they would enjoy no matter what. Or something that, once they really have this picture of who this person is, they can almost put themselves in their shoes of where that person would be. But it's also getting in the proper mindset that, instead of going, oh, okay, I'm going on a date, it's probably not going to work, just like the other ones. What did he think of me? What did I say the right thing? And, analyzing the date to death, which women tend to do. I know I was there at one point myself. We tend to do that. Don't
Mhm.
analyze it so much. It may not work out, but see it as an experience, an opportunity to meet new people that most of us don't have too many times in our life. It's pretty exciting getting to go all these places and meet all these new people. Maybe they're not going to be your future mate, but maybe they're just going to be a great new connection to somebody else, right? It is your
Right.
path to love. It's one step further. You're getting more and more information every single time about who you need and who you don't need. So every time you are progressing a little bit further. So just think of yourself moving along that path towards the pot of gold.
I love it. Oh my goodness, girl. I wrote that down. So anybody ask me, well, what did she mean by that? I will be able to definitely to let them know. But that was one I really circled and highlighted. I'm like, I have to ask her on here. What did she mean by that? Well, I wanted to tell you, Allison, thank you so much. You were amazing. And I so appreciate you. And this was fun. And next time we're gonna bring you on and we're gonna ask you about the other stuff, about your sexologist and things like that. Actually, I talked to a couple friends who are like, "Oh my goodness, we have to have her back." I'm like, "Okay, I'll ask her. She'll come
Love
back, and we
to.
can have some girl talk about the sexologist and things like that." So
Love
I'm going
to.
to. I thank you again. I appreciate you, and I'm gonna put you in the green room for right now, and I'm gonna get ready to bring on our next guest. If you would like to join us, just let me know. But you're more than welcome to join us.
Oh, I'd love to, always. Thank you so
Cool.
much. It was great.
Thank
You're awesome
you.
too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you guys. So wasn't that amazing? We had on here a relationship coach, and she talked about how you can have a good relationship first. But what I really loved is, and what I want you all to hear, it starts within us. And if you don't know what is holding you back, Allison is actually giving away a free session. If you text path two. I had to think about it. Path two, the number two. If you would text it at 614-653-7377. And if you put in the message, text two, I will connect you to Allison and you'll be able to get her free gift. So, you guys, I'm wanting to let you know before I go on, this half of the show is sponsored by At the Table. Actually, I've partnered up with At the Table this month, and we're doing some amazing work. And we're actually working on this series where we talked about love shouldn't hurt. So I have an amazing guest that's coming on here, but we're going to talk about domestic violence. As this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I want everyone to understand that we needed to talk about it. I told you I was going to start bringing in impactful and powerful and powerful women, so we can start talking about things, so we can start talking about our what's next, but knowing that what we're facing. So understand that these are this sessions that we're doing, I understand it may feel odd. It felt a little odd to me because I didn't want to step on anyone's toes, but it needed to be done. So I'm going to bring on our amazing guest for this half, and that is, hey, Miss Diane.
Hi there. Hello. How are you, Pam?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well this evening. I'm blessed.
Good.
I can't complain and I won't.
Well, I wanted to first and foremost say thank you for joining us on this important topic, I know it's near and dear to your heart, and we'll talk a little bit more. But we need to talk
Mhm.
about it. We need to talk about why love shouldn't hurt and how it impacts you. But one thing I wanted us to start really talk about is your event that's coming up. We need to talk about it so people will come out and be in part of this amazing event. So tell everybody about your event, and then we'll talk about you.
Well, good evening, everyone. And Pam, I want to thank you for having me on your show this evening. And yeah, we're actually going to be so I'm the founder of Ohio Women Against Domestic Violence, and it is a network of professional women organizations that have come together for one cause, and that's basically to advocate for domestic violence. And with that being said, um, we planned an event, and our first event is on Saturday, October 29th, and it is a breakfast. It's a empowerment breakfast for survivors and also for people that are currently struggling with abuse, struggling with the trauma of abuse. And it's a healing process, and we understand that. So we want to offer some supportive resources, offer some powerful, impactful speakers, support from women that are survivors, and to uplift and encourage women and teen girls to speak up and speak out against domestic violence. It is preventable, so we want to do as much as we can to try to end it. And then another reason why we're having the event is because October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that's another important cause. But with that being said, a lot of times domestic violence gets pushed in the back, or kind of just we forget about it, or just we don't want to talk about it this year. And it's important that people that are survivors get an opportunity to celebrate the fact that they are survivors, and then empower others, people that are coming out or escaping, or survivors as well, so that they can do things actively in the community as well.
That's so true. So how do they get tickets for the event?
So the event is on Eventbrite. And with Eventbrite, if you do go through Eventbrite, there is a code, and it's Survivor in all caps. If you use Survivor code, it's $20 off the ticket. The ticket price is $45, and with that code, it would reduce the price to 25. So we're encouraging everyone to use the Eventbrite and use the Survivor code so that you can get the discount, and that's actually the best way. We have other options. We'll be using a Cash App option as well, but we really want to encourage people to use Eventbrite, because with Cash App, you don't get the discount.
Oh, yeah. You guys got to get that. And this is so important. And I'm glad you're on to talk about it. Actually, I did my research before you did, as all my guests that I come on. And I have found that, yeah, I found that actually 1 in 3 women are physically abused. And 1 in 4 men, which I have another guest that's in the green room, but we were talking a little bit about it. But 1 in 4 men that are abused. But here
Yeah,
was the
correct.
astounding number to me. 1 in 5 women are severely abused. severely abused, and 1 in 7 men are severely abused. So if anybody knows anyone that is going through this, call 911, or there is a hotline that you can use, and it's 1-800-799-7233. But
Correct.
but Diane, share everybody a little whatever you want to share about your story. I want everybody to hear your story.
So with me, it's taken some time. So actually, within the last year or so, I've been actually more active and more vocal about being a voice. But I want to say I was about 25, maybe 25 when it was a domestic situation, living relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, and it began to be a struggle, um, almost to where it was so much control and manipulation. So mine started off being a lot of mental and a lot of emotional type of abuse, and it escalated to verbal, and then it went to physical. So at to which point where we got into a fight, and he actually cracked one of my ribs and my lung collapsed. So I ended up in the emergency room, and the doctors were, if you didn't come in, to the emergency room, you wouldn't have survived. So for me, um, that was enough. I mean, for me, that was enough. But again, it was a process. It didn't start off physical. I guess that's what I want to say. What we see in a lot of relationships that are domestic, where there's abuse, it starts off with the emotional or the mental, and then it escalates maybe to verbal, and then eventually it may go to a physical situation. So again, mine was over time, and it was going up a slope. So that's something that you look for, in the relationships, and there can be a slope. It can start off with different types of abuse. So we are actually having a mental health panel next Wednesday at the main library from 6 to 8 p.m. And um, uh, I believe, 6 people on the panel, and we have a mixture of doctors and mental health workers and clinical clinicians that will be speaking about different forms, different types of abuse. Because a lot of younger women and teenagers believe that if it's not physical, it's not abuse. And we know as we get older and we start doing more research and so forth, that it is more to it than that. And then also, another statistic is also the teenage girls. They're 1 in every 3 as well, which is too much. And they believe that love hurts. I mean, if your mate yells at you, or grabs on you and so forth, that's love. And so the message we are trying to send is that love shouldn't hurt. And then if you are in a situation, to speak up and speak out. And we will have plenty of resources, and um some of our speakers, we have 2 judges that will be speaking. We have the assistant police chief, Lashana Potts, that will be speaking. We also have invited a host of city officials. So this is an excellent time, if you engage with resources. And then if you are scared and you don't know which way to go, and you may need a protection order, you may need assistance, this would be an excellent time, to get information on how to start that process so you can develop an
I'm so
exit
glad.
plan. We call it exit plan, I
Yeah.
guess.
I'm glad you talk about that though, because I want women to understand there is a way to get out. Get out. Actually, this is a great opportunity. I mean, Diane's group, her company is offering the amazing resources that will help you navigate on how you can get out, how you can, and we need support. And I'm glad you're showing, bringing the support, because a lot of women are fearful of being by themselves. A lot of those, some people are manipulators, and they'll manipulate your mind, saying that you can't do it without me. I'm your clutch. And so knowing that they have someone or have a group such as yours is kudos to you. And I want to thank you for doing that, and bringing it out and putting it out there for women to understand that there is ways, because you're right. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we've had, and by no means I don't want to diminish that, because that is just as important, but
It
so is
is.
domestic violence. And you're right, we hear about it so much. And lately we have been, turn on the TV and you hear about it, or you turn on social media, and some of it doesn't even have to happen. Sadly, it does. And
Correct.
actually, I turned on my TikTok this morning, and this mother of six was killed by her husband. And you just turn on the
Uh,
TV, turn on, everywhere, and it's talk, and we need to talk about it. So I thank you for creating a vessel for even us talking about it.
Oh, absolutely. And this time of year is very critical. This is the holiday season coming up, and finances and relationships, and just the way that of the world right now, it is causing a lot of stress on relationships. So, with the holiday season coming up, we do want to encourage women and teenage girls that if you are in an abusive situation, that you don't want to go to you don't have to go through the holidays that way. And again, there is support, and I do want people to understand that I am a survivor, and I'm not just organizing an organization so we can just throw events and so forth. This is something very personal for me, and for about 8 out of the 10 women. Well, actually, we have about 16 women now. So I would say all 16 of us have experienced some form of abuse in our life, from teen to adolescent to an adulthood, whether it was emotional, mental, verbal, physical, sexual, at some form, and some not as severe as others. But all forms of abuse is not good. I mean, none of it's acceptable. So we want it to end. And so we're declaring October 29th Purple Day.
Yeah.
And that's the point of, everyone wearing purple, and then purple and pearls. That's royalty, and it just makes you feel more feminine, more classy. So we want to encourage women to come out and feel good about themselves and connect. And if you're a survivor, we want to celebrate you. And if you're not a survivor yet, and you're contemplating it, and or someone, we want to encourage women to bring your friend. If you know your friend, I have a lot of people say, well, my friend, or I'm calling you for my friend, or I know someone, and buy her a ticket and bring her. Say, hey, we're going to this breakfast, and just buy her a ticket, bring her out. And then that way, that's a form of support. And, she'll have a good time. We'll make sure that, she walks away feeling empowered. And then our walk, it will be immediately following. And that's like a release walk. So we're actually going to continue on after the breakfast and our program. We're going to come outside, and we're going to walk around the actual school, and honor survivors as well. So yeah.
So can anybody, will they have to register through Eventbrite to be part of the walk?
So for the walk is open to anyone who wants to walk. The breakfast, you do have to register and purchase a ticket for the breakfast and the program. And then, and again, we have vendors, we have resources, we have speakers. And then immediately following, we will have the walk. We'll cut the ribbon. We will um, acknowledge some folks, and we are going to do a group stretch. We have a powerful, I guess I want to say, well, she does workouts and so forth. I wouldn't say she's an actual trainer, but she's highly motivated and highly energetic, and she's going to get us wound up so everybody can walk. And we're going to take the walk, community walk around the school. It's about 2 miles.
Oh,
So it'll be awesome. We're gonna have signs. We're gonna have make a lot of noise, and so we're letting the neighborhood know, hey, on the 29th, this is Community Day right here, and it's gonna be purple. So,
I will definitely give me a flyer so I can post it, but please
oh
do that.
yes, definitely. I think we got fire trucks coming. I think we have a 360 photo booth outside. Now these are the things that will be going on outside. So bring your children. We want you to walk with families, groups, women's groups, men's groups. If you're walking outside, we're going to walk for survivors. Now, inside, that's just, it's women.
Right.
The breakfast is a women's event. But the walk is, again, we want to encourage families to walk, for healing. And, all women, bring your children. Don't let that stop you from walking with us. And we'll do that. And then we'll conclude our Purple Day.
I love I love it. I love it. You ladies have been amazing here. But I wanted to both introduce you both to each other. And so this is Allison. She is a sexologist. She's a relationship coach, a dating expert, and you have met Allison, the amazing Diane Williams, who is she is. I met her and I love her energy. She is just as you see it. So she's an amazing woman. But I
Thank
felt that
you.
you needed to come on. I'm glad I brought you both on because we as women need to understand that we can sit down and talk. Look, we just had girl talk. We talked about relationships. We talked about how the importance of an inner relationship. Then we talked about domestic violence, what is
Yeah.
occurring starting from our young women all the way up to women our age. So I'm so glad this was a such a powerful. Yes, ma'am. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I feel like I'm in public school again. I had to
Yes.
ask a question. I
No.
just wanted to ask Diana a question. I don't know if she knows the answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You mentioned teens and even educating teens about it. Do you know if schools are doing anything to carefully, I guess, subtly, um, educating girls before they reach the teenage years? Because I know a lot of friends and even myself that ran into some pretty bad situations before I became a teenager, and I think back now and I'm like, why did I put up with that? But I didn't know otherwise, and you're too concerned in public school about perception and what's going to happen, and you think you don't have a right to speak up. And I wish I'd known more. And so I was wondering if anything is being done to start at a very young age and teaching young women that this is not okay.
So at the school level, at this point, I don't think so. But that would be something that is something that we would definitely want to consider, because this year we are focusing more on teens because of the numbers there that are increasing, and we see that the ages are getting younger. So what you're saying is correct. We You may have a 12 and 13-year-old in an abusive relationship. Wow, and to think of that is just, it just
Oh,
blows my
that's scary.
mind.
That is
But it's
scary.
it's reality. It's reality. The age is dropping. When you can't even call them relationships. You just call them, um, I don't even know what you call it. They play together at 12 and 13. You
Yeah.
shouldn't even be thinking about those type of things, but it's the
Right.
reality of what we're dealing with now in our society.
Yes.
So what you're saying is something that really needs to be considered. Afrocentric is a K through 12 school. So there is, elementary level, middle school, and high school. I have requested that we possibly be linked with some of the students at the school, that would be good representation for the school to be volunteers. So we reached out to, we asked for, like, student council, cheerleaders, I think the girls basketball team, different representations of girls groups that would be able to be impacted by our speakers and our event as well. So not only volunteering, but also observing and saying, hey, this could be me and my relationship, as well. And another a positive aspect of it is that every official that is speaking, and every official that is attending, we are going to have a student greeter greet them at the door and escort them to their seat in their uniform. So whether it's your cheerleading uniform, your basketball uniform, your school uniform, in uniform, and we are asking that they try and engage, with the students, because that's important. Because I know at my age, I didn't connect with any official, or leadership city person. So it's important for me for these students to see that, hey, this is a judge, and hey, I'm walking with this judge, and and the judge is probably going to ask me how I'm doing, and how am I going to react, and so forth. So that's kind of important for us also, that they link up with an important official that they might not be able to engage with at any other time. So could
And
end up being a potential mentor for them. And then I think with all of this, kind of this organization just started September 1st. So it's amazing because it's taking off so quickly, and we have the support is coming so fast. And um, again, when you start talking about teens, and you start thinking about, these are teenage girls that are getting abused and, getting beat up and so forth. And it's like, it does not have to happen. So how are we going to intervene, and how do we put preventative measures in place that it does not happen? So what you were saying is key, because preventativeness and intervention has to start at a younger age now.
absolutely.
It can't start at the high school level. It has to start maybe at elementary level. We know it has to start at middle school, because middle school children, but elementary was something that was unheard of. When I was growing up, I'm 55. So, elementary school, we weren't thinking about boys and girls. We were running from them, you know,
You're right.
running,
You're
running
so
from the
right.
boys.
You're
Yeah.
so
So,
right. So we do need, I think that is so important, like you said, but we need to talk about it too. So
yeah,
many people are so hesitant on talking about it. And that's why I started doing Girl Talk, because I want for people to see we're talking about it. And we're talking about it to be honest and to bring awareness and know that we know that it's going on. So
yeah.
I
To bring
appreciate it.
healing, it helps heal. It's in the healing process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, lady, you guys have been the bomb, and I so appreciate you. Before we close out this show, Diane, what would you like to leave our listeners with?
Well, again, if you are in an abusive situation right now, it's important that you speak up and speak out. And there is the 1-800 number again, Pam, if you have that on hand. I
Sure.
don't have it right in front of me. You can share that again, but there's a 1-800 number here in Columbus, Ohio, Franklin County. We do have some drop-in shelters on the west side. One of our keynote speakers, she actually has drop-in shelters, overnight shelters, because that's been an issue, I believe, with some of the larger shelters, is that they don't have beds. And that's stopping a lot of women from leaving their situation. So it's important for us that they have somewhere that they can go to, at least for 24 hours, until they can, come up with the next steps on what you need to do to kind of debrief and try to breathe and, get your head together. So, um, start your exit plan. And for survivors, I applaud you and I congratulate you. And I thank you, Pam. And I'll spread the word. I just think it's excellent that you gave us the opportunity to speak to women this way. So thank you. And it was a pleasure. I came in on the end of your segment as well. So yeah, I think that's awesome as well.
So hold on, ladies. And so, Allison, what would you like to leave our listeners with?
Well, I think it's all about authenticity. It's about tapping into who you really are at the core. When you really tap into that, that's when amazing things start to happen. So
Mhm.
if you want some help really tapping into who you really are and how to, tear down all those walls and blocks and having incredible relationships, please reach out to me. And it was amazing meeting you, Diana. I'm going to put my thinking cap on and share any resources with you that I think
Yes,
might help your cause. And Pam, this was incredible. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I love
thank
listening.
you.
I'm excited now to tune into your show. I had a lot of fun doing this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, ladies, before we close this down, I want to thank you both. You guys were amazing. And I wanted us to create an powerful, impactful show. And I think we did it. With you, both of your help, we did it. And thank you
That'd
so
be so
much.
good.
Yes.
Yeah. So, everybody, those of you who are tuning in, you know what I always do. I close it down with I say, you only have one life to live. Live your life for you and nobody else.
That's
Remember,
right.
you
Yes.
only get one time. We only get one chance at it. And if you're needing help, look, I have women on the side of me, left and the right, and we're holding our arms together to help you to go after your what's next. We know
Yeah,
it's hard. We know that you have to do the inner work, but we're here to help you do that work with you. So you don't have to do it by yourself. And you can't say you don't have a tribe because look, I have these amazing women and many more behind me. So you guys
mhm.
come and join us next week where I have another amazing guest. Actually, she too is a domestic violence survivor. And you get to hear her story as we come out here and share our stories. And I want to lastly close out with tonight, this part of the show was all sponsored by At the Table. At the Table is a nonprofit organization that is located here in Columbus, Ohio. We are out here empowering and inspiring young ladies and women around. So if you're interested in At the Table, I will drop it in the feed below. I will also drop in the feed on Diane's amazing event, as well as you'll get Allison has dropped us a free gift. You guys, I love some free gifts, so I don't know about you, but I love me a free gift too. So I'll drop it in the feed how you can get your claim your free gift, or if you want to just sit down and chat with me to figure out what your what next is, I'm here for you as well. But until next week, you guys take care of yourself, and as I always say, live you for you and nobody else. Take care,
That's
everybody.
right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.